The sun was setting on New Horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. 6-year-old Ethan Carter chased a ball across his backyard, laughing as it bounced toward the edge of the property where the forest began. The colony world had been his home since birth, its slightly higher gravity and longer days now normal to him. "Don't go too far, Ethan," called his mother, Lauren, from the porch where she was preparing dinner. His father was due back from his military duties tomorrow, and Ethan could hardly wait. "Just getting my ball," Ethan shouted back, running to where it had stopped against a fallen log. That's when he noticed the strange silence. The usual chirping of the native insects had stopped. The wind seemed to hold its breath. Ethan looked up and saw a shimmer in the air, like the heat waves above the colony's landing pads. Before he could run, a beam of pale blue light surrounded him. Ethan tried to scream, but no sound came out. His feet lifted off the ground. The last thing he saw was his mother running toward him, her face twisted in horror as she reached for him. Then darkness. Admiral Skyvorn watched as the unconscious human child was placed on the examination table. The Salathorian's scaled skin reflected the bright lights of the medical bay aboard the flagship, Eternal Dominion. "The extraction was successful, Admiral," reported Commander Velkax with a slight bow of his elongated head. "No witnesses except the mother, as planned." Skyvorn nodded. "Excellent. This specimen will provide valuable insight into human development. More importantly, it will draw out General Carter." "Are you certain this is wise, Admiral?" Velkax's voice dropped to a whisper. "The reports about this human general are concerning." Skyvorn's mouth ridge formed what passed for a smile among his species. "The humans have been expanding too quickly. Their military capabilities grow each cycle. We must understand our enemy before they become too powerful." He looked down at the small human boy. "This child's father commands their 5th Fleet. Taking his offspring will reveal how humans respond when provoked personally rather than politically. And if they respond with full military force, they won't. One child is not worth risking interstellar war." Skyvorn turned away. "Prepare the jump to hyperspace. I want us back in Imperial space before the humans realize what happened." General William Carter stepped off the transport onto New Horizon's main landing pad. He had managed to return a day earlier than expected, hoping to surprise Ethan and Lauren. His dress uniform was crisp despite the long journey, his posture perfect as always. At 45, William remained as fit as the soldiers half his age under his command. The colony administrator was waiting for him, face grim. "Sir, there's been an incident." William felt his blood turn cold. 20 minutes later, he stood in his backyard, staring at the scorch marks on the grass where the alien craft had landed. Lauren sat on the porch, a medical officer attending to her. She hadn't spoken since she'd been found screaming Ethan's name. "Show me the security footage again," William ordered, his voice deadly calm. The colony's security chief nodded, replaying the holographic recording. The shimmer in the air, the craft decloaking just enough during the abduction to be visible. The distinctive design was unmistakable. "Zalathorians," William said softly. The Galactic Empire had been watching human expansion with growing concern for years. There had been diplomatic tensions, but no open hostilities. Until now. William activated his military comm unit. "This is General Carter. Connect me to Fleet Admiral Powell. Priority Alpha." When the Admiral's face appeared in the holographic display, William spoke with ice in his voice. "The Salathorians have taken my son." The Admiral's expression shifted from surprise to concern. "William, I'm invoking Article 7 of the Military Code. I'm taking operational command of a rescue mission. This could trigger a war," the Admiral warned. William looked at the scorch marks once more, then at his silent wife on the porch. "They already did that when they took my boy." His eyes, hard as steel, turned back to the Admiral. "They just don't know it yet." The Space Force Command Center buzzed with activity as General William Carter strode through the halls. Officers and enlisted personnel alike moved aside, recognizing the look in his eyes. It was the same expression he'd worn during the Orion conflict, right before he ordered the destruction of the pirate fleet that had threatened human colonies. Fleet Admiral Susan Powell waited in the war room, surrounded by holographic displays of known Salithorian movements. She was a stern woman with gray-streaked hair pulled back in a tight bun, her uniform adorned with more medals than William's. "You understand this isn't officially sanctioned," she said without preamble. "The diplomatic corps is still trying to establish contact." William's face remained expressionless. "How long until they respond?" "Days, maybe weeks." "Ethan doesn't have weeks." Susan sighed. "I know. That's why I've authorized this." She gestured to a holographic display showing a sleek black ship, the Shadow Hunter. Stealth destroyer, latest tech, minimal crew requirement. Officially, it's on a training mission near the border. And unofficially, it's yours, along with a team of your choosing. She fixed him with a hard stare. "William, I'm doing this because I have a grandson Ethan's age. But you need to understand. If you start a war, I can't protect you." William nodded once. "I don't need protection. I need a ship and a crew. You have them. What you don't have is authorization to engage the Talithorians directly. This is a rescue mission only." William stepped closer to the display, studying the ship. "They took my son, Susan. What would you do?" She didn't answer. 3 hours later, William stood in the briefing room of the Shadow Hunter as it prepared for departure. Before him stood 12 men and women, the best special forces operatives humanity had to offer. "You all know why we're here," William said. "The Salithorians have taken my son. Intelligence suggests they're holding him on their flagship, the Eternal Dominion, currently moving toward their core worlds." He brought up a holographic image of the massive alien vessel. "This ship has more firepower than our entire Fifth Fleet. We can't fight it head-on." Major Frank Wells, a battle-hardened veteran who had served with William for 15 years, spoke up. "Then how do we get aboard, sir?" "We don't." William manipulated the display. "We intercept it during transit at the Vega Nebula. According to intelligence, they'll need to drop out of hyperspace to navigate the radiation fields. Even with our stealth tech, getting close will be nearly impossible," said Lieutenant Diane Hughes, the team's tech specialist. William's eyes hardened. "That's why we're not going after the flagship. We're intercepting this." The display changed to show a smaller vessel. "Intelligence indicates Ethan will be transferred to this research ship before they reach the nebula. Smaller target, lighter defenses." Frank studied the image. "Sir, with all due respect, is this a military operation or a personal vendetta?" The room went silent. Everyone knew William's reputation. The media called him the executioner after what he did to the terrorist forces that attacked his previous posting. 3,000 enemy combatants. No survivors. William looked at each team member in turn. "When they took my son, they made it both." He turned back to the display. "I won't lie to you. This mission is unauthorized. If we're captured or killed, Space Force will disavow any knowledge of our actions. You're all here as volunteers." "No one's leaving, sir," Frank said quietly. "We all have families too." William nodded, grateful. "Then let's begin. Our first step is to access the Talithorian communication network. We need to confirm Ethan's location before we commit." As the team dispersed to their stations, William remained in the briefing room, staring at the image of the Salithorian flagship. He reached into his pocket and touched the small wooden soldier Ethan had carved for him. "I'm coming for you, son," he whispered. "And heaven help anyone who stands in my way." Ethan Carter sat very still on the examination table as strange devices moved around him. He wasn't crying anymore. His father had always told him that in dangerous situations, watching and listening were more important than showing fear. The aliens were tall with bluish scales and long fingers. They spoke in clicks and hisses when talking to each other, but used a translation device when they addressed him. "You will answer our questions," "Human child," said the one Ethan had heard others call Admiral Scaforn. "How old are you?" "6," Ethan replied simply. "Your father is William Carter." Ethan nodded. "What does your father tell you about his work?" Ethan looked down at his hands. "He fights bad people who hurt others." The Admiral made a sound like rocks sliding together that Ethan guessed was laughter. "Is that what he says? Interesting." A door slid open and another alien entered, this one moving quickly and seeming agitated. It spoke rapidly to the Admiral, showing him something on a glowing tablet. The Admiral's posture changed immediately. "Are you certain?" The Admiral asked sharply. "Check again." The subordinate made a gesture that seemed like confirmation. The Admiral turned to look at Ethan with new interest. "It seems we have made a miscalculation," he said, more to himself than to the boy. "Your father is not merely a fleet commander." The Admiral brought up a holographic display, and Ethan saw his father's face. Next to it were images of destroyed ships and planetary defense systems. General William Carter, architect of the Orion campaign. The Admiral read, "Responsible for the complete annihilation of the Centauri marauders. Pioneer of the total war doctrine in human military strategy. Known among his enemies as the Executioner." Ethan had never heard these things about his father. At home, his dad was just Dad, the man who helped him build model spaceships and taught him how to fish in the lake near their house. The Admiral turned to his subordinate. "Why was this not in our intelligence briefing?" "The humans classify much of his record," the subordinate explained. "We only obtained this from deep intelligence sources moments ago." The Admiral paced the room. Change of plans. The child is no longer just a research subject. He is leverage. He pointed at Ethan. "Take him to the secure holding area. Triple the guards." As the aliens led Ethan away, he remembered more of his father's lessons. "Always know where the exits are," Dad had told him once, "and remember that most people only look at eye level." Ethan carefully counted the turns in the corridors, noting the symbols on the doors. He watched how the aliens used their handprints to open certain areas. He was scared, but his mind stayed clear and focused. Later, in a small room with a bed and strange food, an alien different from the others came to check on him. This one moved more gently and wore different clothing. "I am Dr. Thelnar," the alien said through the translator. "I am here to make sure you are healthy." Unlike the others, this alien seemed concerned about Ethan's comfort. "Are you cold? Hungry? Our systems are not calibrated for human children." "I'm okay," Ethan said cautiously. "When can I go home?" Dr. Thelnar's large eyes blinked slowly. "I cannot answer that, but I can bring you more suitable food and perhaps something to occupy your mind." After the doctor left, Ethan examined the room more carefully. He found a small vent near the floor, hidden behind the strange bed. It was just big enough for a small boy to crawl through. He didn't try to escape yet. His father had also taught him patience. "Never make a move until you know where you're going," Dad always said. Somewhere in space, Ethan knew his father was looking for him. And if there was one thing Ethan was certain of, it was that his father always accomplished his mission. The Shadow Hunter moved silently through Salathorian space, its advanced stealth systems making it nearly invisible to sensors. On the bridge, General William Carter studied the tactical display showing a small convoy of alien ships ahead. "Status report," William said quietly. Lieutenant Diane Hughes looked up from her console. "We've intercepted their communications, sir. They're discussing a prisoner transfer. A small human." Her voice caught slightly. "It has to be Ethan." William's expression remained neutral, but his hands tightened on the railing. "Which ship?" "The secondary transport vessel," Frank said, pointing to a medium-sized ship in the formation. "According to their chatter, they're taking him to a research facility deeper in their territory." William studied the convoy formation. 3 warships protecting 1 transport. The odds were poor, but he had faced worse. "Weapons status." "EMP cannons charged and ready," replied the weapons officer. "Boarding pods prepared." William nodded. Execute Plan Delta. Target their engines and communication array only. I want that ship disabled, not destroyed. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. The Shadow Hunter accelerated silently, approaching the convoy from below. They haven't detected us, Diane confirmed. We're in optimal firing position. William took a deep breath. This was the point of no return. Once they fired, there would be no denying human involvement. Fire. The Shadow Hunter's cannons released precise bursts of energy that crashed into the transport ship's engines. At the same time, targeted EMP pulses disabled its communications. Before the escort vessels could respond, the human ship had already launched boarding pods. William led the first boarding team, wearing combat armor and carrying non-lethal weapons. They cut through the transport's hull and entered amid blaring alarms. Move fast, William ordered. Find Ethan and extract. Avoid casualties if possible. The team swept through the corridors, encountering light resistance. The Talathorians, surprised by the sudden attack, fell back quickly. William's team reached the detention area and breached the door. Inside were cells containing various specimens from different worlds, but no human child. "Sir," Frank called from one of the computer terminals. "I've accessed their logs. Ethan was here, but they transferred him to another vessel 8 hours ago." William's face hardened. "Where?" "A ship called the Imperial Decree. It's heading for the fortress world of Calthoria." Before William could respond, alarms blared as the escort vessels began attacking the Shadow Hunter. "We need to move," Frank urged. "We got what we came for." William shook his head. "Not everything." He pointed to a Xalathorian officer who was trying to escape. "Grab him." The alien fought briefly as 2 soldiers seized him, but stopped struggling when William approached. "You know who I am?" William asked. The Xalathorian's eyes widened slightly. "General Carter." "Good. Then you know what happens if you don't help me." William's voice remained calm, but there was steel beneath it. Back on the Shadow Hunter, the alien prisoner sat across from William in the interrogation room. The ship had escaped the convoy and jumped to safety. "The fortress world of Calthoria is impenetrable," the Talathorian insisted. "Even if you somehow reached it, you would never leave again. It has planetary shields and thousands of defense platforms." William leaned forward. "I don't care about leaving. I care about finding my son." "You would risk death just for one child. You still don't understand humans, do you?" William's eyes were cold. "A parent would burn down the universe to save their child. Now tell me everything about Calthoria's defenses." The alien hesitated, then began speaking rapidly as he saw the look in the human's eyes. He had heard stories about the executioner, but hadn't believed them until now. In his quarters, William studied the information they'd gathered. Calthoria was indeed heavily fortified, possibly the most secure location in the Salathorian Empire. Frank entered with a datapad. "We've verified the intel. Ethan is definitely on Calthoria." He paused. "Sir, even with everything we know, this seems impossible." William looked up, a faint smile touching his lips for the first time since Ethan's abduction. The best missions always do. The Grand Council chamber of the Salathorian Empire buzzed with angry voices. Admirals Huvorn stood in the center, facing the circle of high officials who glared down at him from their elevated seats. "You have placed our entire empire at risk," said Councillor Nexver, her scales flushing red with anger. "For what?" "A human child." Emperor Vostal raised a hand for silence. Unlike the others, his scales were pale with age, almost white. His eyes, however, remained sharp and calculating. "Admiral," the Emperor said quietly, "explain yourself." Skvorn bowed deeply. "My Emperor, the human child was meant to be a source of intelligence. I did not anticipate the father's response." "You didn't anticipate." Councillor Nexspire hissed. "A human stealth ship penetrated our territory, disabled an Imperial transport, and escaped with one of our officers. And now our intelligence suggests this same ship is approaching Calthoria. This human general, the Emperor mused. Tell me more about him. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing William Carter's military record. General William Carter, explained the military aide, responsible for numerous victories against various threats to human expansion. Most notably, he eliminated the Centauri marauders who had been raiding human colonies. Eliminated how? Asked the Emperor. He lured their entire fleet into the asteroid field around Proxima b, Your Majesty, then detonated hidden explosives throughout the field. No survivors. Murmurs spread through the chamber. And now this man is coming for his offspring, the Emperor said. With a single ship. We should use the child as bait, suggested the War Minister. Draw this human into a trap and eliminate him. No, argued the Diplomatic Minister. Return the child immediately. Apologize. Claim it was a rogue operation. The Emperor remained silent, listening to the debate rage around him. Far below the council chamber, in a secure medical facility, Ethan sat cross-legged on his bed. Dr. Felnar was showing him a holographic game similar to chess. Your mind works quickly for one so young, the doctor observed as Ethan captured one of the alien's pieces. Ethan shrugged. My dad taught me to think ahead. The doctor's eyes flickered toward the door, making sure no guards were nearby. Your father, Felnar said softly. He is coming for you, isn't he? Ethan looked up, studying the alien's face. Yes. There are those among us who do not agree with what was done to you, the doctor said. Not all Xalathorians wish for war with humans. Before Ethan could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. The doctor stood quickly. What's happening? Ethan asked. Security alert, Felnar said, moving to the door. Stay here. I will return when I can. Alone in his room, Ethan moved quickly to the vent he had discovered earlier. Today might be his chance. Aboard the Shadowhunter, William reviewed the final details of their infiltration plan. The planet's defense grid is too strong for a direct approach, he explained to his team. But there's a maintenance window in Sector 7, a 5-minute gap when they realign the shield generators. Even with that window, we'll need a distraction, Frank pointed out. William nodded. That's why I called in a favor. He brought up a new display showing 12 ships at the edge of the system. Merchant vessels. They'll report a pirate attack, drawing attention away from our approach vector. Sergeant Lisa Kelly, the team's infiltration specialist, studied the fortress layout. Once we're on the ground, getting to the detention level will be the hard part. I'll handle that, William said. You focus on securing our exit route. Frank pulled William aside after the briefing. Sir, there's something you should know. I found this in the weapons locker. He showed William a small device. It's a planet cracker. Prototype. Not officially in our inventory. William's face revealed nothing. Insurance policy. Sir, with all respect, threatening to destroy a planet. I have no intention of using it, William interrupted, but they don't know that. Frank lowered his voice. The man I've served with for 15 years wouldn't cross that line. Not even for family. William looked his old friend in the eye. I won't become a monster, Frank, but I'll let them believe I am one. Calthoria loomed large in the view screen, the blue-green world surrounded by a web of defense platforms and patrol ships. The Shadowhunter drifted silently at the edge of the system, its stealth systems working at maximum capacity. Shield rotation in 3 minutes, Diane announced, her fingers flying over her console. Merchant distraction is in position. William nodded. Launch infiltration team. In the launch bay, Sergeant Lisa Kelly and 5 other Special Forces soldiers boarded a small drop pod. Unlike standard military pods, this one was designed to mimic space debris, with a heat signature barely stronger than a small asteroid. Comms check, Lisa said, adjusting her helmet. We read you. William's voice came through clearly. Remember, this is a surgical operation. Get in, locate Ethan, signal for extraction. No heroics. Understood, sir. The pod ejected silently from the Shadow Hunter and began its slow drift toward Calthoria, just one more piece of space junk among thousands orbiting the fortress world. On the planet's surface, Ethan was putting his plan into action. When Dr. Felnar returned to check on him, Ethan pretended to be sick, clutching his stomach and moaning. "What is wrong?" the alien doctor asked, rushing to his side. "My stomach," Ethan gasped. "It hurts really bad." Dr. Felnar scanned him with a medical device. "I detect no abnormalities, but human physiology is complex. We should move you to the main medical facility." As they left the detention area, Ethan caught glimpses of the wider fortress. It was enormous, with soaring ceilings and hundreds of Talathorians moving about with purpose. Security seemed even tighter than before, with armed guards at every junction. "Something big is happening," Ethan whispered. Dr. Felnar glanced down at him. "Yes, your father has been detected approaching our system." Ethan's heart leaped. "He's coming." The entire fortress is on high alert, although how one ship expects to penetrate our defenses. The doctor paused. "Unless that is not his plan." Ethan smiled slightly. His dad always said that the best way past a wall wasn't to knock it down, but to find the door. As they rounded a corner, alarms began blaring. Red lights flashed along the corridors. "Perimeter breach in Sector 7, announced a voice over the fortress-wide communication system. "All security teams respond." Dr. Felnar pulled Ethan into a side corridor. "Listen carefully," the alien said urgently. "I am part of a movement within our society that believes this conflict is unnecessary. We can help you." Before Ethan could respond, the wall across from them exploded inward. Through the smoke stepped human soldiers in combat armor. Lisa Kelly removed her helmet, scanning the corridor with her weapon raised. "Ethan Carter?" she asked, spotting the boy. "Yes," Ethan exclaimed. "Dad sent you. He's coordinating from orbit. We need to move now." She pointed her weapon at Dr. Felnar. "Step away from the boy." "Wait," Ethan said. "He's helping me. He's a friend." Lisa hesitated, then nodded. "Fine. But he comes with us. We need a guide." They moved quickly through the corridors, Dr. Felnar leading them through less guarded paths. But at each turn, they encountered more resistance. Zalathorian security forces were converging from all directions. "We're cut off from the extraction point," Lisa reported into her comm. "Requesting backup." "Negative," came William's voice. "We've been spotted. The main fleet is moving to intercept." Lisa's team found themselves trapped in a storage area, security forces closing in from all sides. "General," Lisa said grimly, "we may need that insurance policy after all." In orbit, William stood on the bridge of the Shadow Hunter as Scalathorian warships surrounded them. A communication request flashed on the main screen. "Accept," William ordered. The screen filled with Admiral Scuvorn's scaled face. "General Carter, your rescue attempt has failed. Surrender now." William's expression remained calm. "I think it's time we had a proper conversation, Admiral." One parent to another. "Parents." The Admiral looked confused. "Yes," William said softly, "because the Salathorian Empire is your child. And right now, its survival depends on your next decision." Admiral Scuvorn's eyes narrowed as he studied William's face on the view screen. "What game are you playing, human? Your ship is surrounded. Your ground team is trapped." "I'm not playing games, Admiral," William replied calmly. "Check your planetary defense grid. Specifically, shield generators 3, 7, and 12. The Admiral barked orders, and his subordinates worked frantically at their stations. One of them looked up, his scales paling. "Sir, those generators are showing unusual power fluctuations." William allowed himself a small smile. "I've had agents on Calthoria for months, Admiral. Long before you took my son. Insurance, you might say." "Impossible," Scuvorn hissed. "I've spent my career planning for worst-case scenarios. including the possibility of conflict with the Salathorian Empire. William leaned forward. Now I suggest we discuss terms before those generators fail completely. The screen suddenly split, and Emperor Vosthal's aged face appeared. General Carter, this situation has escalated far enough. William bowed his head slightly. Emperor, I agree completely. You threaten our fortress world. I didn't start this conflict, Emperor, but I will end it. William's voice remained level. All I want is my son. On Calthoria's surface, Lisa's team had barricaded themselves in the storage area. Outside, Zalathorian security forces were preparing to breach the door. We need options, Lisa said, scanning the room for anything useful. Dr. Thelnar moved to a computer terminal. I may be able to access the internal security system. Create a diversion. Ethan tugged on Lisa's sleeve. The air ducts, he said, pointing upward. I saw them throughout the fortress. They're big enough for people to move through. Lisa smiled. Smart kid, just like your dad. She looked up at the ceiling panels. Let's move. One of her team lifted Ethan up to the vent. As the boy crawled inside, the door to their hideout began to glow red from cutting tools. They're coming through, a soldier shouted. Dr. Thelnar worked frantically at the terminal. I've triggered fire suppression systems 3 sections away. It should draw some of them off. The team began climbing into the ducts, with Lisa covering their retreat. Just as the door started to give way, she fired a smoke grenade and followed them up. In the ducts, Ethan led the way, remembering the layout he had observed during his time in the fortress. This way leads to the landing bays, he whispered. In orbit, tense negotiations continued. The Emperor had summoned his full council to the communication. Your infiltration of our world is an act of war, said the War Minister. As is the abduction of a child, William countered. But I'm not interested in war, just justice. The Emperor raised a hand for silence. You have demonstrated remarkable foresight, General Carter. Perhaps there is a solution that benefits us both. I'm listening. Admiral Zgivorn acted without full council authorization in taking your son, the Emperor said, his ancient eyes fixing on the Admiral who stood rigidly nearby. His actions do not represent the will of the Empire. William nodded. A rogue element, then. Precisely. One who will face imperial justice. Admiral Zgivorn stepped forward. This is outrageous. Everything I did was for the Empire's security. Silence. The Emperor commanded. You have brought us to the brink of war with the humans. The Admiral's scales flushed dark with rage. The humans are weak. This single ship proves nothing. He turned to his guards. Destroy the human vessel. Kill the child. I will not be made a scapegoat. The Emperor's eyes widened in shock. This is treason. William watched calmly. Looks like you have an internal problem, Emperor. Meanwhile, my son is still in danger. The Emperor's voice was cold. General Carter, Admiral Zgivorn is no longer acting under imperial authority. I disavow his actions entirely. Understood, William said. Then you won't mind if I take steps to protect my people. William pressed a button on his command console. Throughout the Calthoria fortress, carefully planted explosive charges detonated simultaneously, targeting communication arrays, weapon systems, and security hubs. The fortress plunged into chaos. Alarms wailed throughout the fortress as emergency lights bathed the corridors in red. Ethan and Lisa's team moved quickly through the air ducts, heading toward the landing bays. Below them, Zalathorian soldiers ran in confusion as systems failed and contradictory orders came through damaged communication devices. The whole place is in chaos, Lisa whispered, checking her tactical display. Your father's creating one hell of a distraction. Ethan smiled. Dad always says confusion is a weapon if you're the only one who knows what's happening. They'd reached a grate overlooking one of the smaller landing bays. Through it, they could see a shuttle being prepared for launch. Zalathorian technicians worked frantically while guards formed a perimeter. "That's our ride out," Lisa said, readying her weapon. "We need to move fast." Before they could act, the bay doors slid open and Admiral Scavorn stormed in, surrounded by elite guards. His scales were almost black with rage. "Prepare for immediate departure," he ordered, "and find the human child. He must not escape." Lisa cursed under her breath. Change of plans. In orbit, William watched as the Zalathorian fleet fell into disarray. With the fortress's main communication array disabled, coordination between ships had broken down. Some remained in position around the Shadow Hunter, while others moved to defend the planet. "Sir," Frank reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the Emperor's personal vessel." On screen, William ordered. The Emperor's face appeared, his expression grim. "General Carter, this situation has spiraled out of control. Admiral Scavorn has taken command of loyal forces and is attempting to leave the planet." "With my son still down there," William said. "I offer a proposal," the Emperor said. "My forces will assist in recovering your child and apprehending the Admiral. In exchange, you will cease your attack on our fortress." William considered for a moment. "Agreed. But I lead the recovery operation personally." On the planet's surface, Lisa's team prepared to move. Dr. Felinar studied a small data pad he had been carrying. "The Admiral is heading for his private shuttle," the doctor said. "There is a maintenance access point that will put us ahead of him." They moved swiftly through the ducts until they reached the access point. Lisa went first, securing the area, then helped Ethan down. "Stay behind me," she ordered, and the boy nodded. They advanced through a narrow corridor and emerged into a wider hallway just as Admiral Scavorn and his guards rounded the corner. For a moment, both groups froze in surprise. Then the Admiral's face twisted in fury. "Kill them all," he shouted. Weapons fire erupted in the confined space. Lisa's team took cover, returning fire with precision. Dr. Felinar pulled Ethan behind a support column. "We cannot win this fight," the doctor said urgently. "There are too many." Suddenly, a new sound filled the corridor, the whine of human energy weapons. From the opposite end of the hallway, a team of soldiers appeared, led by General William Carter himself. "Dad!" Ethan shouted. William advanced methodically, his weapon finding targets with deadly accuracy. Behind him came Zalathorian soldiers wearing the Emperor's insignia. Caught between two forces, Admiral Scavorn's guards fell quickly. The Admiral himself turned to flee, only to find his path blocked by Dr. Felinar. "Traitor," Scavorn hissed. "No," the doctor replied. "Patriot. One who wishes peace, not war." Admiral Scavorn raised his weapon, but before he could fire, William shot him in the arm. The Admiral collapsed, clutching his wound. Ethan ran forward, and William dropped to one knee, embracing his son tightly. "Are you okay?" William asked, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm okay, Dad. I knew you'd come." The Emperor's forces secured Admiral Scavorn, who glared at William with hatred. "You have no idea what you've done," the Admiral spat. "Humans will never be safe in this galaxy." William stood, keeping one arm around Ethan's shoulders. "You're wrong. What I've done is show that humans will go to any length to protect their own, that we prepare for the worst while hoping for the best." He looked at the Emperor's representative, "and that we're willing to make peace when offered in good faith." 2 days later, the Shadow Hunter departed Zalathorian space with Ethan safely aboard. Dr. Felinar had been appointed as the first Zalathorian ambassador to Earth, a symbol of the new diplomatic relationship. In his quarters, William watched his son sleeping peacefully. "Was it worth it?" Frank asked from the doorway. "All of this, nearly starting a war." William smiled slightly. "For him, without question. The Zalathorians won't forget what happened." "Good," William said quietly. "Let it be a lesson. The galaxy is vast and often dangerous, but nothing in it is more dangerous than a human fighting for family."